Kirby Smart doesn't even need a recruiting pitch to bring kids to the University of Georgia. At least if I was a high schooler, I wouldn't even need to hear him out. When you think about those typical old recruiting meetings where the coach comes in and sits on the couch and talks to you and your family, and maybe you're a big time 4 or 5 star kid and there's a lot of different programs that want you and you know you're going to get playing time at pretty much any of these places. My question is, why would you not choose a place like Georgia, right? This is not me sitting here allocating for Georgia or advocating for Georgia, excuse me. But why would Kirby Smart need a recruiting pitch when you go and you watch the NFL draft and you see Mykel Williams, Jalen Walker, and Malachi Starks getting taken in the first round? What's my point behind this? Mykel Williams never progressed from year 1 to year 3 at Georgia. He was about the same each season. Jalen Walker was the Butkus Award winner on somewhat limited production. Malachi Starks, if you ask a lot of people think he got worse from year 2 to year 3. First round pick, first round pick, first round pick. You can go and look at the history, and I will talk about some of the history, but if you're a high school player, if you're a middle schooler, if you're a 10-year-old kid, and if you're me, what would really be your ideal dream? Making it to the league. Playing in the NFL. That's the end goal for these players. And that's a huge factor for many of them when they're picking which school to go to. If you're Kirby, if you're Georgia, you don't even have to sit there and talk about it. Just look at the NFL draft year in and year out. Look at these first round picks. This is all in addition to national championships, SEC championships, major attention, playing on ABC 3, 4, 5 times a night, prime time per season, NIL. It's just all of it. All of that is additional to the fact that it is a pipeline to get to the actual goal. And these players don't even have to perform at the highest level to make it. Ryan Cooley from Dawg Post. I don't think Kirby Smart even needs to have a recruiting pitch. If he does and he's got to convince you, maybe there's just another place you like better. And I get that. If you like Oregon better, you like Auburn, you like whatever school it is, that's it. But if you're considering Georgia and you're considering Michigan State, Ohio State, this goes for other places. It's not just Georgia. But isn't the ultimate goal to make it to the league and to make it to the end? To me, that's the ultimate pitch. That Georgia, I think they've had more draft picks than anybody over the last few years. I cannot remember the exact number. I saw a graphic with it. And then we talk about this weekend. We're in the middle of the draft, right? This is going out on Friday. You're going to see it. Maybe you'll see it Friday night, Saturday morning. Before, the second and third round haven't happened yet. As I'm recording this is after the first round. Jared Wilson is a guy who is probably going to go in the second round tonight. If he doesn't, he'll go in the third. Center for Georgia this past season. Was around Georgia for 4 or 5 years. Started one season and didn't even start the entire season because he was injured. And the guy's going to be one of the first centers off the board in the NFL draft. He hung around, played college football, practiced his ass off for a few years, waited his turn, barely played, and now the dream is to play too. And he's going to be a high draft pick in this NFL draft. Is that not ridiculous? Is that not absolutely ridiculous? Think about a few years back, Devontae Wyatt. How much did he really play for Georgia? He didn't, he started and he rotated in for a couple years. He goes on and he's a first-round pick. These guys aren't playing a ton, or they're not performing up to this standard that they have set for them, or they don't necessarily progress over and over a few years. Like in Mykel Williams' case, it's not really me trying to knock on him, but he's basically the same player he was when he got to Georgia. I don't think he advanced that much. Part of that is injury. Part of that is Georgia rotates. The production just wasn't quite there. And he just waltzes into being the 11th pick in the NFL draft. His workout was underwhelming. I was at Mykel Williams' private workout and Jalen Walker outshined him. He looked more explosive. He looked more powerful. He was faster. Now, some of those things come with the fact that he's smaller and a linebacker. But Michael Williams looked sluggish. People thought that he ran too slow when he ran the 40-yard dash at Georgia's Pro Day. Completely based off of trade. So if you're a player with real NFL potential and you know that as a high school player, why don't you just go to an NFL pipeline like a Georgia or an Alabama or a Michigan or Ohio State, you know what I mean? Versus taking that money somewhere else. That's kind of a take that I'm developing here as I'm speaking, but it speaks for itself. And the Jared Wilson thing to me is big. Trevor Etienne is going to be drafted probably somewhere between round 3 and 5 in this NFL draft. He played for Georgia this past season. He only had about 600 yards. He played a little bit more than half the season. He was a rotational back on Florida for 2 years. He goes to Georgia. He has a couple of great games where he shines. And in a loaded running back class, he's not a round 7 guy. He might be taken as early as round 3. Right? He tested well. He had good games, and he played. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins is in this NFL draft. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins has barely played college football. All right, he played the most this past season. I have the numbers in front of me. He had 19 tackles this past season. How many tackles did he have in his entire Georgia career? I guarantee you it's not many, and I'll bring it up for you right now. He had 16 tackles heading into this past season. This is a guy who doesn't even have 40 career tackles, and he has 4 career sacks. And he's probably going to get drafted like round 4, 5, or 6. He's going to the NFL. He barely played. He was injured. He was on Georgia teams that were successful. He was on back-to-back national championship Georgia teams. Even though he wasn't a heavy contributor, he was on those teams. He is a 2-time SEC champion. He was in big moments and was in big games. And obviously raw athletic potential and all of that is a factor in this. But the fact that he barely played, and this is a guy that's probably going to hear his name called over this weekend, to me that's kind of crazy. And so how is that not the whole recruiting pitch? You could make it to the league and literally not do that much at Georgia. And you still get your NFL dream to come true. That's the case for a handful of these guys. And then if you are a productive player, like I said, with Malachi Starks, first-round pick, when people thought he got worse. Michael Williams, when there was no progression. Jalen Carter has character concerns. He still goes in the first round. That's kind of a different story. But you're starting to see my point. These guys are getting drafted because of pedigree. They're getting drafted because of athletic potential. And they're getting drafted because they went to the University of Georgia and played for Kirby Smart, who has been pumping out these NFL players over and over and over again. So if you're a high school kid, there are a handful of programs like this. It's not just Georgia. But what are you considering? Why are you going to, I don't know. What's a good example? Why are you going to Kansas? Why are you going there or that when you have an opportunity to go and compete? I understand that people want to play and they want to play a lot, and sometimes fighting for playing time at Georgia is competitive, but the fact that these guys won out is part of why they're getting drafted. I just think that this NFL draft and all of them have been, to me, a major recruiting pitch for Kirby Smart, one where all you have to do is point at the numbers. Look at the success rate that we have getting guys into the league. That's all I'm pointing to if I'm Kirby and this Georgia staff. Thank you for watching.